Yo, what is up? So let's talk about a topic that's sort of been on my mind lately, especially with all the news happening. And it's this idea that the US is now entering a recession. And who knows, it could be bigger than just the United States. It could also impact other countries, and it could be sort of a global recession that we're entering. And a lot of people are now fearing for their jobs. They're fearing inflation. You can see it in the prices of gas, of everyday consumables, food, houses, just everything in general seems to be going up. And being in the tech industry, I can see it also firsthand that a lot of companies are now starting to take a look at their portfolio of businesses and their balance sheet and trying to figure out ways to prepare for the oncoming recession. I think, to be honest, I think we're already here, and a lot of companies have been probably preparing for this in advance, but you can see the headlines these days with crypto companies laying off 10-20% of their workforce, or even big tech rescinding some offers and doing hiring freezes, and they're just trying to get ahead of this thing. And what I wanted to talk about today is actually what happens when you're impacted. Back in 2008, 2009, I was working at Hewlett Packard, and I was there for about a year, and when the Wall Street collapse happened, HP also went through a series of cuts, and they refer to those as WFRs, or workforce reduction. And unfortunately, I was part of that initial wave along with a bunch of people. Some of them were new college grads, some of them were middle managers, individual contributors. Irregardless though, I've gone through the layoff machine before, and it's not fun. But what I wanted to do in this video is give you guys some pointers if you do get impacted. And the first one that I want to share with you guys is to not burn any bridges. Layoffs are tough, workforce reductions are tough, and you might not understand what's going on. I know for me personally, I was like, dude, I'm making like less than 50K. I'm a new college grad, I'm a cheap hire, like why am I a part of this? And it wasn't personal, it was just a management decision, and who knows whether there were other considerations that went into that. But either way, don't burn your bridges if you get impacted in an upcoming layoff. You always want to retain those relationships and make sure that you still have a good relationship with the people that you work with. Unfortunately, I've seen some people in the past where they get impacted and they come out of the meeting room crying, screaming, yelling, basically just causing a scene. And it's not easy. It's not easy for anyone. A lot of people are depending on their jobs for their livelihood, for their rent, for their living expenses. And of course, it's a very real thing, but you also want to be professional. It's a small community, whether you're in tech, whether you work in healthcare or whatever it is, you never know when you're going to run into people again. I still keep in touch with a lot of my coworkers from previous companies, and you remember how they were, how they treated you, how they treated other people. And those things will follow you throughout your career. And so I think making sure that you leave on a good note, that you leave professionally, is always a good sign, because you never know when you might run into them again. And recruiters also have a short list of people that they've worked with, or where they're like, hey, I didn't have a good experience with this person, let's not hire them. So it's something to think about. The other thing you guys need to keep in mind is that when one door closes, another one opens. When I got laid off at HP, I was pretty depressed, to be honest with you. I mean, I had some savings, of course, but I was also debating whether to move back to Oregon or stay in the Bay Area. And about a month or two after I got laid off, I was lucky enough to get a couple different job offers. And I had the luxury of being able to choose between either staying in the Bay Area or going back to Nike, or going back to Oregon and working for Nike. And so I was in a very fortunate position. But when I got laid off, I didn't think about that. I didn't have those offers. I wasn't even interviewing at that point. And so I was in a really dark place and just wondering, hey, where did I screw up? What did I do wrong? But if I had known that, hey, this is just going to be another opportunity in disguise, and that I would have a chance to sort of reinvent myself, I don't think I would have been as discouraged. And so just remember, guys, that sometimes things happen for a reason. If you guys believe in God, if you guys believe in karma, or whatever it might be, there's always going to be other opportunities down the road. The third and last thing that I want to share is when stuff like this happens, it's really a chance to reinvent yourself. Usually when you get laid off, you get a little bit of severance depending on how long you've worked at the company. You're also going to get some extended health insurance. And so the first reaction might be to try to get a new job as soon as possible. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you have commitments, if you have family obligations and mortgage payments that you need to cover, go at it. But if you're a young person, if you're still living at home, or you have those sort of backup contingency plans where you can get your living expenses covered, or you don't need the money, use that time to really invest in something that you've always wanted to do. It might be a passion project, it might be a YouTube channel or a podcast or a business that you want to start. Who knows what that might be, but getting that time, because I believe that time is the most valuable asset and resource that we all have, use that time to really figure yourself out. What do you really want to do? And honestly, the earlier you start, the younger you are, the better time you're going to have. It's a lot harder for people who have families, who have these commitments and bills to pay. But if you're in your 20s or maybe even your 30s and you want to reinvent yourself, and this could be the perfect time to go on a trip around the country or take a camera and vlog your life and start something brand new and figure out exactly where your passions and where your skills align and really double down. Right now for me, with starting a new job, it's a little bit different, but even in my free time, I want to really tap into some of the things that I'm interested in, because who knows, a lot of people out there have created different income streams or the passion project that later became their 9 to 5. And there's something very envious about that. And I would urge you guys to spend some time to discover that if for whatever reason you get impacted by a layoff and you have a little bit of free time to work with. And so that's my advice for you guys if you ever get impacted by some sort of a job cut, layoff, whatever that might be. Now, for those of you guys who are lucky enough to have a job during this recession, which I think it's going to be fine for most people, still use this time to really build a safety net. Most recessions last anywhere from 8 to 12 to maybe 15 months, but each one is a little bit different. So we don't know exactly how long this one's going to be or how bad it's going to be. So I would urge you guys to save at least 6 to 8 months of living expenses saved up. And the same advice that I gave earlier, I think still applies for people who still have a full-time job. Use your time wisely. Use your time to invest in a business. There's so many opportunities these days, especially with the internet and technology, to create businesses. And I think the best time to figure out and find a new career is when you have a job already. Like I said, guys, being impacted by a layoff really sucks, but you're not alone. I've gone through it. A ton of your other colleagues have gone through it, and you guys are going to be just fine. The only thing I ask is, please don't take a permanent solution to a temporary problem. There will be light at the end of the tunnel. Learn how to discipline yourself and up-level your skill sets now when things aren't as bad. And so those are my thoughts for you guys today. Drop a comment down below if you have any other suggestions or ideas that you want to share with the community, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.